Call this school committee meeting to order February 17th, 2022 at 5 p.m. Mr. Stevens, if you would lead us in a salute to the flag, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. School Department presentation, Superintendent Jacobson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight we'll begin this meeting with a summary of the trends and statistics and data that we've been gathering in the school department for several weeks and months. And before I want to begin, I just want to inform everybody that the school department has worked diligently to create a safe and healthy environment for our over 5,600 students to learn every day, and our 900 staff to teach our students and support our young scholars. Tonight I'm asking you all, or sharing with you all the information that will inform the Board of Health and the school committee on any action items that they'll be taking later this evening. So with that said, the school department has hosted 17 student, staff, and community clinics since last May in an effort to keep our school community safe. Some of the particular action items that we've taken, and I'll ask Mr. Shalafo to add on to this slide. We have recently provided test kits to students and staff for at-home testing. We are performing in-school weekly what's called safety testing, what used to be called pool testing. Then we also have the routine safety checks. We did eliminate the test and stay, the contact tracing program about 2 months ago. And Mr. Shalvo has an update on the frequency of the new test kits to staff and how that program is working, because we have an update as effective today.
Yeah, so currently the state was shipping us every other week shipments for our students and for our staff to participate in the at-home rapid antigen testing. This week we received our first shipment of 2,000 tests will be distributed now every other week to both students and to staff who opt into the program. So we have a little over 1,700 students and staff right now who have opted in. It continues to grow. So obviously we have a buffer of tests that we can provide to them. They'll be testing every week. They're similar to the tests that were sent home previous. There are 2 tests, and they'll be doing the testing on Thursdays each week. And they'll receive 1 box every 2 weeks.
Okay. And I think you also want to give a brief summary of some of the actions that we initially did at the beginning stages of the pandemic with regards to air purifiers.
Sure. With some of the original mitigation strategies that we had used were implementing our HEPA air filters, air filtration systems that were placed in every classroom and every office, using fresh air as or operable windows to introduce fresh air into the classrooms and to the other spaces where we have staff. Increased cleaning across the district with high-touch areas, fogging classrooms, and also monitoring students and staff for those who have or may be symptomatic, and then doing antigen testing with those students and staff members in the nurse's office each day.
Okay, thank you, Craig. Moving on, what this slide represents or includes is data that the Department of Public Health publishes on a weekly basis. Usually it's on Thursday evenings or Friday mornings. Fitchburg is one of 20 equity-targeted vaccination communities across the Commonwealth. The bar chart and the table show how Fitchburg's vaccination rates compare against state averages. And what I would just ask people to pay attention, and I realize the numbers are very small as they're being displayed on the screen, so I'll just read the differences here, is for the 5 to 11 age group, Fitchburg's vaccination rate is 31.7% compared to a Massachusetts average of 52.2 for a 20.4% difference. 12 to 15 age group range, the vaccination rate is 74%. The state average is 84%, so we're 10% points difference there. And for the 16 to 19 age group, our vaccination rate, and this is for the city of Fitchburg, not just the students residing in the city of Fitchburg, they could be attending other schools, is 58.9%, state average 82.6%. So the difference in that age group is 23.6%. We've been informing the community of, again, vaccination clinics that we have hosted as a school department, but also what the Board of Health has hosted. And there is a clinic tomorrow from noon to 6 here in the Legislative Affairs Building, and a clinic here on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And those clinics will continue through February 26. Next, I want to share with you some information comparing Fitchburg's vaccination rates to communities that are adjacent or local to us, and then I'll share Fitchburg's vaccination rates in comparison to other cities or urban districts across Massachusetts. So again, here, this is in two separate categories. First dose vaccination, fully vaccinated. You can see the comparison of state averages to Fitchburg. Just for those watching on TV who might not be able to see this, or those who can't read the numbers clearly, for the first dose, for the 5 to 11, it's 32%, 12 to 15, 74, 16 to 19, 59%. That compares to the state averages of 51, 83, and 82%. For fully vaccinated, Fitchburg's 5 to 11 is 22%, 12 to 15, 63%, 16 to 19, 51%, versus state averages of 40%, 72.4%, and 68.7%. So from this table, you can see how we compare to districts that are close to us: Leominster, Lunenburg, Westminster, Gardner, etc.
Bob, could I interrupt? Just by fully vaccinated, how are you defining that?
Well, that's the definition from the Department of Public Health, Dr. Bogdassarian. So I guess I would refer to Mr. Curry of how they defined.
So it would be 2 doses of the mRNA or 1 dose of J&J.
So not the
Booster information is not included in that info.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Moving on, just in really expanding on the information that was just presented. Same information, but looking at it in a different format, comparing first dose of vaccination for each age group. And the bar that's listed or highlighted in gray is Fitchburg. So you can see from this bar chart how Fitchburg compares to North Central Mass communities in terms of vaccination. As I mentioned, the next slide here is really urban districts. As I mentioned, Fitchburg is one of 20 vaccination target communities by the Commonwealth of Mass Department of Public Health. Fitchburg's vaccination again, they're the same. You can see how they compare to the state average and what the other, not only local districts here, but then looking at districts like Worcester, Holyoke, Revere, Gardner, Lynn, Boston, Brockton are. Okay. So on a weekly basis, we perform, well, we originally called it pool testing, which was probably a bad moniker or name put out by the state. And they changed that at the beginning of this school year to call it safety check testing. That's the form of testing, the PCR testing, which involves individuals swabbing their nose, putting one swab into an individual test tube and one into a group test tube. And I think the limit, Craig, is 6 or 8?
Now that we're able to do as few as 2 samples per pool.
So from this, the first table in the upper left-hand corner shows the percentage of staff who completed the safety check testing in the most recent week that we have the data, which is last week. Again, it ranges from 84% to as high as 93%, or 81.9 to 93% for staff. That was something that we had also negotiated as part with our labor units to participate in weekly testing to better mitigate the spread of the COVID-19 virus. Right next to it are the percentages for students. Students are opt-in, so basically they need to receive parental admission to participate in the pool testing. And you can see the ranges for participation range from 36.7% to a high of 53.3%. And what is excluded are people who had previously tested or had COVID-19. They are not allowed to undergo PCR testing for 90 days? Correct.
Yep.
Okay. So right next to that is a table, which I'm going to show a little bit better chart, showing the number of tests administered, the percent of the staff, student and staff combined that participated. And probably what's most important for everyone to look at is the total reported cases. So talking about the total reported cases, this is the weekly data since September of 2021 through last week. I would just ask you to just look at the maroon bars, and those are the number of cases that were identified in those time periods. And those time periods are after long holiday weekends or vacations. On a weekly basis, our nurse leader, Pam Rivers, reports information to the Department of Ed. So if anyone was interested looking at the information on Department of Ed's website, this shows what the staff and student case reported to DESE has been, and students are in blue, staff are in red, and you can see, reading it from left to right, the cases have been decreasing. One of the things that we've been tracking, again, here is the student and staff attendance. First, I'm going to try to give a summary of the student attendance over the last 4 months, November through February, or February to date, and really comparing 2 years ago, which was the last time period that students and staff were in school under normal conditions. So as you can see, we try to, if you can look at the colors, the light purple or violet, the light orange or darker maroon, red, orange, and the light blue, you can see period to period comparisons in terms of where we're at. So if we look at February year to date versus February of year to date in terms of total student absences, from 2020, it was 5,138 student days, and in 2022, we're at 5,347. So we're not too far off from where we were 2 years ago. But again, when you look at January of this year versus January of 2020, you can see there's a big difference, almost double, where January of 2020 student absences was 9,377, and January 22 absences was 17,485.
Well, that's a total.
The next slide here summarizes the employee vaccination rate. Just to be clear, we do not have any information on student vaccination rates. The numbers that I shared are from the Department of Public Health for students who reside in the city of Fitchburg who may or may not be attending Fitchburg Public Schools. This is a summary of our staff who are employed by Fitchburg Public Schools. We have almost just 900 staff working for the school department. And we sent out a survey, or actually a form, for staff to complete and inform us of their vaccination status. So far, we have 522 individuals who responded, and 95%, or 498 of those, reported that they were vaccinated. 5% of those reporting not vaccinated. So we received responses from just under 60% of our staff in regards to their vaccination status. Okay. Continuing on, really just the absence data presentation. Originally, I informed you of students. Now it's the staff slide here. And again, the colors are the same. The time periods are the same. Again, just looking at this month and last month. So looking at February 22 versus February of 2020. February 22 teacher absence days is 410. Versus February 2020 of 335. But the big number here is January of 2022 versus January 2020. January 22's teacher absence days was 1,571 versus 1,012 in January 20, so about a 55% increase. And also looking at December of 21 versus December of 19, the December 21 teacher absence days was 114% of December 19. Another way of looking at the data here, again, is just trying to summarize really the last 4 months. Again, the trend of teacher absences. Not all these absences are COVID related. The COVID absences are just a portion of these, but this just gives the audience here an idea of what the relationship between the Delta variant spike and the absences, both for students and staff. So I'm going to close, start bringing my presentation to a closure here with just a summary of what districts local to us have announced, or what the status of their announcement is. I don't speak on behalf of any of the districts. I'm just sharing out the data, to be clear. So first of all, Leominster will be asking their school committee for a 2-week extension of the mask mandate to March 14th in consideration of the vacation spike, similar to the slide that I showed you, that every time that there is a vacation or a long weekend, there is an increase in illnesses. Sizer School just announced that, and Sizer is an independent charter school here in Fitchburg, that until March 7th, they plan to keep the mask mandate, and they have put in a condition that the 7-day test positivity rate would be below 5% before they remove that. Worcester Public Schools Worcester for the school department will continue the mandate through at least March 7th, when their Board of Health meets again. For municipal buildings, that mandate has been removed for non-school buildings there. In Ayer Shirley Regional School District, they met last evening. No decision was made. Their next meeting is March 1st. Gardner Public Schools is making a decision tomorrow. Lunenburg, Harvard, Athol Royalston Regional School District, Ashburnham Westminster Regional School District, and Wachusett Regional School District have all announced that masks become optional on February 28th. And just the back of what I had shared with both the school committee and Board of Health are advisories from the Department of Ed, the Department of Public Health, information from the CDC, the Board of Health Order number 3 regarding mandating testing and vaccination for staff in our schools, then the mandate requesting students participating in extracurricular activities, participate in the weekly testing. For the school committee, the face coverings policy that was adopted last August, and a sample face covering policy that the Massachusetts Association of School Committees just released on February 10th. Okay. So at this point, I'll turn the mic and the screen over to Board of Health Director Steve Curry.
Are you able to plug in? Yep. So Victoria Seltzer is an epidemiologist. She's going to do a little bit of presentation. Just bear with us for a moment.
There we go. All right. Hello, everyone. Like Steve said, my name is Victoria Seltzer. I am the epidemiologist for the Montachusett Public Health Network, which of course includes the city of Fitchburg. I'm sorry to everyone behind me that my back is to you, but hello to everyone in front of me. I'm just going to be sharing quickly a brief summary on the breakdown of current COVID-19 data in the city of Fitchburg and also for our region. Starting with COVID-19 case and positivity data. On the right-hand side of the slide here, we see a graph of the positivity rate both in the city of Fitchburg and also statewide. On the x-axis, the bottom part of this graph, we see the report date, with the most recent report date all the way on the right-hand side of the graph being Thursday, 2/10/22, a week ago today. Like the superintendent mentioned, this data is reported by the Massachusetts Department of Public Health every Thursday, and each report date represents a time period of the previous 2 weeks. So from the data reported on February 10th, which again is the most recent report date, we see that the positivity rate in the city of Fitchburg was 12.11%, which is almost double the statewide average of 6.48%. The city of Fitchburg positivity rate as of today has decreased about 35% to 7.8%. So the Massachusetts Department of Public Health has not done the report as of when we came down here for this meeting, but the rate represented in the report for today will be 7.8%. We currently have 146, sorry, I didn't mean for that to disappear, 146 active cases of COVID-19 in the city of Fitchburg. Now moving on to hospitalization data. These hospitalization data represented are for 4 hospitals in our region. The first one being Athol Hospital, which is represented in blue. The second one being Clinton Hospital, which is represented in orange. The next one being Health Alliance Leominster, represented in gray. And the last one being Haywood Hospital, which is represented in green. So of course, these hospitalization numbers, I just want to note here, these numbers are not specific to only City of Fitchburg residents. These numbers represent all COVID patients in these 4 hospitals which are in our region. So some of them will be City of Fitchburg residents and some of them may not be. On the x-axis of this hospitalization graph, we have month going back a year to February of 2021. And on the y-axis, the left side of this graph, we have the average number of daily COVID hospitalizations. So the number of hospitalizations in each hospital are reported every day, and these numbers represent the average for that given month. So we can see so far that in February of 2022, the average for Haywood Hospital is 16 COVID hospitalizations. The average for Health Alliance Leominster is 17 hospitalizations. The average for Clinton Hospital is 8 hospitalizations, and the average for Athol Memorial Hospital is 3 hospitalizations. And now moving on to sum it up with COVID death data for Worcester County. Again, this is county-wide data, so this does not represent only City of Fitchburg residents. It represents residents from all of Worcester County. The Massachusetts Department of Public Health does not separate death data by municipality. They only announce death data by county. So this again is by reporting period, with the most recent reporting period on this graph represented being again last Thursday, February 10th. So as of February 10th, there were 111 COVID-related deaths in the previous 2 weeks, which, as we can see, is just about the peak of last year, the peak since last year, I should say. With February 3rd, 2021, there was 113 deaths reported. That is all I have. I will pass it back to Director Curry.
I think we could proceed to the public comment section.
Sure.
Well, I believe that's the next item on the agenda.
Yes. Public comments next.
Public.
Yes. Are we doing the virtual?
Start virtual first?
Yeah, why don't we do virtual first?
Who's
Yep.
first on the list?
Kim Graustein?
I don't see a Kim.
First one on the list, isn't it?
Yeah, she's not logged in.
She's not.
Nope.
Oh, she says no comment. All right. Deborah Wright.
Deborah is logged in. I'll unmute her.
Okay.
Okay, she should be all set.
John, are you notify them about the 3-minute time limit for public comment?
Are you keeping time? Who's keeping time for 3 minutes? Thought someone was doing that.
We Natalia is
Natalia,
keeping
we're
the
all
timer.
set.
Yeah.
Let Deb know that she's live.
Good evening.
Yep, you're all set, Deb.
school committee and members of the Board of Health. I'm Deb Wright. I'm principal at St. Bernard's Elementary School, and I'm also a homeowner in Fitchburg. First of all, I thank the Board of Health for all the work they've done with us, for our community of St. Bernard's Elementary School, and for the community at large. I appreciated the data that Bob shared with other school districts and how they're approaching this. My lead nurse and I have had great conversations about what we would like to see in the foreseeable future. As a nurse educator and as the principal of our small elementary in Fitchburg, we're very concerned about February vacation. We know our families will travel and gather. We would like to see the mask mandate extended at least 2 more weeks while we take a look at what our own numbers are. We do the pool testing, the stay safe testing, and also test and stay within our own community. We tend to be conservative. We're very concerned about health within our school community. And we also are very concerned about maintaining our very successful 5 days a week of in-person learning. We've had a couple bumps, but our school has been open consistently every day. So thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Board of Health Director Steve Curry.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Next, Susan Thor.
I don't see.
She's here, okay.
Good evening.
Why is she on
Thank you
this?
for giving me the chance to speak. I'm a parent of 2 kids.
We cannot hear you.
Can you put the mic down?
Can you hear me? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a parent of 2 kids in the public school system. The mask requirement in schools need to end. Leave it up to the parent and the child to decide. Forcing our kids to wear masks have done more harm than good. Like so many others, my kids suffer from seasonal allergies. They struggle during allergy and cold season to wear the mask because they had runny nose, watery eyes, and chest congestion. They would often cough at bedtime, making it hard for them to sleep. My doctor recommended nasal spray and eye drops, along with the allergy medication I was already giving them. Of course, a medical exemption was out of question because allergies was not a good enough reason for not wearing the mask. Although the nasal spray and eye drops relieved their symptoms somewhat, it did not help them get better. They suffered from these symptoms for months, which is unusual, and I believe wearing the mask was keeping them sick and the reason it took them so long to recover. Masking caused issues for their health, and consequently, it caused issues with their learning. And yet, another allergy season is already around the corner. Data shows that most children do not get severely sick from COVID, so making them wear a mask is baseless. Most kids do not even wear a mask properly, and I'm sure any adult can attest to that. And since most adults in the schools are vaccinated, they will be protected from severe illness. If the vaccines are doing what they are claiming and what you're constantly promoting, then masking is not needed. Forcing kids to wear masks for 6 to 8 hours a day equates to child abuse, psychologically, emotionally, and physically. For kids who don't want to wear the mask, they are being forced to do something with their body that they are not comfortable with and can cause them harm in the long run. They can't speak about it because they will be labeled as uncaring and selfish. We are adults and we've lived our lives. Let our kids live theirs. Fitchburg Public Schools wants to promote a sense of welcoming and belonging to students and parents. It wants to help our kids' social, emotional learning as well as success in academics. One way to address all these areas and see immediate overall improvement is to get rid of forced masking. Let the parent and child decide whether they want to continue to mask or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thor. Alicia Markland.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Just so we understand, everything's going along so quickly here. Let me see. Are we allowed to, the health reports there that we had? I had several questions. Is it too late to ask?
Yeah, we'll be deliberating that after the public comment.
Well, so that the public can
So
hear?
you can discuss it at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
So, no,
Yeah, you may come to the podium, state your name, your address, and... Well, we're going through the people who are Zooming in. Once we finish that, then we'll include you folks as well, okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
And I should point out that public comment is you make a comment and there's no response from the school committee. You state your position, you say what you need to say, and then we will deliberate after that. Because that's what public comment is.
So
It's not a
want-
question and answer period.
Well, how do we get our questions answered at a later date? We're here now to get these answers.
When we discuss it, my guess is that all the questions that will be raised will be discussed among the school committee and the Board of Health.
It should be discussed with the parents.
Parents are here.
During the conversation. You guys are making decisions for our kids, and I don't understand it, because I'm the one who carried them for 9 months. I'm the one who's raised them their whole life. I'm the one who's sick with them when they're sick. You know, my daughter comes home from school every day sick. Gina Jacobson, 9 Phillips Passway in Fitchburg. I currently have 3 kids in the school system, one at Monty Tech, one at Memorial, and one at South Street. I'm currently right now we're currently pulling my middle one out of school because she literally comes home sick every day from school from wearing a mask. White as a ghost, headache. I have pictures of her laying on the sofa. She doesn't play, she doesn't read, she doesn't do anything. She now has depression and anxiety where she sees a psychiatrist every other week and breaks down. She no longer wants to go to public schools. She doesn't get to interact with her friends. I had to get a doctor's note for her to have a mask break. What is that? The free air that we're all born to breathe? I have to get a doctor's note so my kid can take hers down and breathe fresh air so she's not sick? I mean, what is that? You're teaching them, they don't learn expressions. You know, the smiling is what makes these kids grow. Makes them happy. They get to see other people, you know. I mean, the suicide rate has gone up to 94%. I hope you're all aware of that. And of that, you're talking about 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds. I mean, I just don't understand. The state has done away with it by the school. You can go to bars, you can go to football games, you can come to meetings, you can do any of that and you don't wear a mask. But our kids who are still growing have to be covered. Why? There's a lot of parents that are done, absolutely done. We're ready to pull bonds. We're pulling our kids out of school. It'll get to the point where none of you have a job anymore because there'll be no more kids in school. It's time for you to start listening to us and let us make the choices for our kids. Period.
Thank you, ma'am.
do you want to move to?
Well, I called out Alicia Markland. Is she?
She's on.
She's on. All right. Good. Thank you.
Alicia, you should be all set.
Hello.
Yep, you're all set.
I just want to echo what everybody else has to say about unmasking. I'm in agreement with lifting the mask mandate and leaving it up to individuals. And that's really all I have to say. I just wanted to make sure I had my voice known.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Timothy Bragdon.
Timothy is not logged in.
Okay. Let me ask again. Timothy Bragdon. Okay, thank you. Theus Stoikow? I'm right here. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Thais Stoikov. I live in 535 South Street, and I'm a Fitchburg resident. I've been a resident for a couple of years now. I have 4 children, 2 of which are in the public school systems, and if this mask mandate goes on, I have every intention of pulling them out of school. I'm also done. absolutely done with this. And while I appreciate the data that you shared and the data that was shared earlier by a gentleman here, none of that is getting to the heart of the issue, which is the effectiveness of masks. None of that is being addressed. The CDC has mentioned that the masks, the cloth masks, are but face decorations. So why do we keep doing this torture to our children? And why is it not being talked about? The health of the kids that are being put through this. Thankfully, my children are only in school for 2 hours a day because they're in preschool. But what about these kids that are in school for 8 hours a day? What is that? What neurological effect does it have? Our body needs oxygen. Our cells need oxygen. And I happen to be a monitor of clinical trials. When our scientists go into the lab, when we have pathogens to deal with, it's not cloth masks that they're going in there. It's not surgical masks either. It's full PPE. So why are we putting our children through this? Please. This is a free country, as far as I know. I don't know what it's turned into, but it needs to be up to the parents. If a parent feels that the mask somehow protects their children, so be it. They should be allowed that. But for me, knowing, especially in my line of work, that the masks do not work, what you're wearing here today does not work, does not keep you safe, and that is the duty not of the mask, not of your common man, your neighbor. That is the duty of the vaccine. And clearly it's not doing its job, because as we saw the data, I don't know what to tell you, gentlemen. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what this country has turned into, but please, I hope that you guys decide for freedom. Parents should be entitled the choice to decide if they want their children to wear masks or not. And if we are not heard, because I don't remember if anybody, I didn't get a survey in the mail. I didn't get an email from my school asking me what I thought. I pay your salary, everyone here. As taxpayers, we all do. And nobody asked us what we wanted, what our thoughts are. So I'm here to give you my comment as a parent, as a clinical research professional. The masks don't work. Please stop putting our kids through this. They go to school, then 3 times a week my kids go to martial arts. They don't wear masks there. Nobody wears masks there. And then all of a sudden we're supposed to pretend that they're safe at school, and you know, somehow the mask is some sort of a vaccine, a glorified face covering to keep them safe from COVID. Please, it doesn't. We need oxygen. Our body, our health needs it. Sun, vitamin D, that's what we need. Please, please abolish this mandate.
Thank you, ma'am. Jennifer James Philbrick.
Hello.
Hi, Jennifer. You're all set.
Hi, how are you? First of all, I just want to thank everybody for their time and all the hard work everybody's put in. My name's Jennifer James Philbrick. I am a long-term resident of Fitchburg. I reside at 498 Mechanic Street in Fitchburg, Mass. I'd like to thank you for your time and allowing me to comment today. I'm here as a parent of 3 children and a business owner. I am not here to debate anything about the efficacy of masks. I'm here to represent myself, my family, and anyone who believes in the freedom of choice. As Americans, we may not agree on everything, but I think we could all agree on one thing, and that's the freedom to choose. What is freedom? According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, freedom is the quality or state of being free, such as the absence of necessity, coercion, or constraint in choice or action. Freedom of choice is something we should all believe in and have. We should be able to decide what is best for ourselves and our families. If you want to wear a mask, wear one. No one will stop you. As fellow Americans, we need to come together and stand up for the freedom of choice. So do the American thing and let us choose and be a voice for the choice and let freedom ring. Thank you.
Marcus Di Natale.
Should be all set.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you this evening for allowing me to speak. My name is Marcus Di Natale, City Councilor at Large and resident and taxpayer. Given there is a concern among many that lifting mask requirements means more infections, it is important to note one statistic from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Cumulative data from 46 states as of February 10th shows that the mortality rate of all child COVID-19 cases is between 0.00% and 0.01%. This means the survival rate for school-aged children across 46 states since this pandemic began is at worst 99.99%. I would like to share with you some pull quotes from an opinion piece that was penned by Drs. Marjorie Smelkinson, Leslie Beener, and Jean Noble in the publication The Atlantic on January 26th of 2022, titled "The Case Against Masks in School." They write, quote, "We reviewed a variety of studies, some conducted by the CDC itself, some cited by the CDC as evidence of masking effectiveness in a school setting, and others touted by media to the same end, to try to find evidence that would justify the CDC's no end in sight mask guidance for the very low-risk pediatric population, particularly post-vaccination. We came up empty-handed. The overall takeaway from these studies that schools with mask mandates have lower COVID-19 transmission rates than schools without mask mandates is not justified by the data that they have been gathering. Imposing on millions of children an intervention that provides little discernible benefit on the grounds that we have not yet gathered solid evidence of its negative effects violates the most basic tenet of medicine. First, do no harm. The foundation of medical and public health interventions should be that they work, not that we have insufficient evidence to say whether they are harmful. Continued mandatory masking of children in schools fails that test. I ask the board and the school committee to please end the mask mandates, take them off our children, and let parents decide what's best for their children based on individual assessments of a child's risk profile. And in closing, I wanted to add that during the worst stages of this pandemic, Delta and Omicron, Massachusetts Department of Public Health and the Fitchburg Board of Health did not pivot to universal masking when Delta raged and then Omicron raged, but they did do so for school children. This is a gross inconsistency, and it speaks volumes as to whether or not these masks are truly effective in stopping the spread. If they're effective, they're effective everywhere. And DPH and the Board of Health did nothing except do it to our children. Thank you.
I was going to read this letter.
Okay, go ahead.
This is a letter from the St. Bernard's High School principal, Ms. Linda D. Anderson. I informed her I'd read it tonight, to whom it may concern. My name is Linda Anderson. I'm writing this letter on behalf of the St. Bernard's High School community, where I'm privileged to serve as principal. I know I'm amongst like-minded company when I share the following. It has been a challenging 2 years, and we all are relieved to know that the pandemic has begun approaching its endemic stage. While often overlooked, teachers have shouldered much of the burden of love and labor during these challenging times, and for that reason alone, we have cause to celebrate the final stages of this pandemic. Far more concerning, however, have been the minds of our adolescents, who for 2 years have lived on high alert and seen their sense of normal disrupted. Certainly, the precautions we've taken have been necessary and with the larger public good kept close in mind. I regret no decision we've made in the effort to protect our neighbors, though all of those decisions have certainly come at a cost. The strain of abnormality has been thrust largely on the shoulders of our young people, who for 2 years now have seen interruptions to their education, their extracurriculars, their friendships, their college plans, and even their mental health. As an adult, I have the capacity to put these 2 years into perspective. They are two of many I've lived, and they've brought challenges and lessons just like the others. But for the adolescents in our community, that perspective simply is not accessible. For a 16-year-old, a current sophomore or junior in high school, 1/8 of their life has been spent in the pandemic. That's a staggering realization and explains the many behavioral and emotional disturbances we've supported our young people through over this past year. While it will take years for the research to show it, those of us who've been working with teens these days know that the pandemic has been and will continue to present as a trauma to many of their developing psyches. With that trauma comes increases in anxiety, depression, substance use, and aggressive behaviors. We've seen it all, sadly, in far greater rates of all these maladaptive coping strategies than we've ever seen before. I'm sharing this because I've accepted the responsibility of guiding these young men and women throughout their formative years, and it turns out throughout this pandemic, the cost they've paid has been tremendous, but it was justified for the good of others. The newest data issued by the CDC confirms that their sacrifice is no longer warranted and that a community as small as ours, with a near 70% vaccination rate and many with some degree of natural immunity, can safely resume with school as normal. For all these reasons, I am humbly requesting that St. Bernard's High School be exempted from any further Board of Health mandates regarding masking for schools in Fitchburg. Thank you for your consideration. Linda B. Anderson. Mr. Thompson, we have some people that hadn't registered earlier.
Yeah, so the next one.
Go on to the next one, please.
Gina Carmi.
Gina Carney. Carmi?
Yeah.
Somebody, the principal, say they want to continue.
She's virtual.
Yes, she is.
Okay.
Hi.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I just want to echo everyone else's sentiments as well. I think it's time to lift the mandate. The abuse has been enough on our kids. But I also wanted to make a point about what the epidemiologist said. I apologize, I forget her name, but the death data is publicly available to anyone who wants to do a public records request. And you can get death data by town. I don't know what they're providing Fitchburg, but that information is available. So if anyone wants to do a public records request on that, they can.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
We have John Allen.
John Allen.
He is virtual.
John, you there?
Okay, we'll move on. Oh, he's there. Hold on.
Oh, hey, you there?
Go ahead, John.
Oh, sorry about that. I was just unmuting and I was having a little bit of trouble. Hey, John Allen, 55 Valley View Court, taxpayer, resident. I'm also a high school teacher in Littleton. I'm stating my position to end the mask mandate. Mandates are not laws, they're illegal as well, so you're breaking the law there. I'd like to say that as a high school teacher, I'm in a district where it's over 84% vaccination rate. There's kids that are triple jabbed. They're still getting COVID, transmitting it, and getting sick, and they've been wearing masks all year. And now we have the option of we're mask optional right now, and there's kids that are like the psychological damage that this has done to kids is it's horrible. There's kids that wear their mask all day, and they come into my classroom, and their masks are around their chin. They're not even wearing them. And I ask them, I'm like, why haven't you opted out to just do the pool testing and not wear your mask? And they say, well, I just want to be safe until February break. And I look at them and I'm saying, well, you're wearing your mask around your chin all day. Like you're not even wearing it properly. And they say to me, well, I guess I'm just used to it now. So it's all ceremonial. They've been completely conditioned to thinking they need this device that doesn't prove any effectiveness. It has no scientific method of preventing like a 2.0 micron virus that's aerosolized with a cloth mask from preventing it from infecting people. And now they think they have to wear this thing all the time. What have we done to them? We need to end these mandates. They're absolutely absurd. We're 2 years into this. Europe is dropping all the passports, all the masks, everything. And Canada is in the throes of a dictatorship right now because people don't want to have to do mandatory vaccinations. It all started with the mask. Like, this needs to end. If people want to wear a mask for the rest of their lives, they can do so. But those that don't want to have them on, those that don't want their children put through this, it's their choice. And the fact that COVID barely has any effect on children, is especially with even infection rates, it's absolutely absurd. And like, I'd like to see a little more numbers from the Board of Health and what they're getting with the death rates and infection rates, because there's a whole other issue there. And there are other ways of preventing COVID and health measures and preventative measures than hyping this vaccine too. Like that's a whole other issue here. But the masks need to end, and it's abusive to the kids. 2 years it's enough. People are sick of this, and if we go ahead like, well, we're just going to do another 2 weeks, just until break, just until this, the hypochondria needs to end. We need to get a grip here. We're losing our freedoms. We need to get real. People, if you guys push this, people are going to start taking legal actions, and we know how to do it. So please end the mask mandates. It's absolutely absurd, and we're not asking, we're telling you. You guys work for it.
Two more.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Next.
We have Tina Graves.
Tina Graves. Ms. Graves.
Tina, can you unmute? There you go.
Hello. Can
Hi,
you
Tina.
hear me?
Yep.
Hi. I didn't know if you were going to call me. I do not live in Fitchburg, but I just wanted to listen to this meeting.
Thank you.
And
You don't live in Fitchburg?
She doesn't. I muted her.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next.
We have Jessica Jacobson.
Jessica Jacobson.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I'm here just to let you guys know that we are putting you on notice of intent to file a claim against your risk management plan. A few of you will receive and be served a notice soon about the notice of intent that I'm going to be speaking about right now. I'm here if you choose to continue to take our rights away and our medical freedom decisions away by not making the mask optional for parents to choose for their own children, we will be filing a claim. You all are in violation of your oath of office according to the MGLPI Title 12, Chapter S5. Again, if you choose to continue to take away our medical freedoms, we are prepared to move forward by filing this claim. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have on my list.
We'll now open it up to the public who's seated here this evening. Anyone wishing to make a public comment, please go to the center microphone, state your name and your address, please, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Lauren Rabb, and my daughter is a student at Monty Tech High School. I'm actually a Holden resident, and I drove out here because this is important to me. My daughter is in 9th grade, and she is a hard of hearing student. We all wear hearing aids, and this pandemic has been a horror show for us. My daughter depends on lip reading in order to communicate, and she is unable to do so during this pandemic. It has been awful for her. Masks don't work. I've had COVID. My kids have had COVID during the time. We wore masks everywhere we went. We still got COVID. I noticed here today, most of you throughout tonight have touched your masks, fidget with your mask. Every time you did that, you deemed your mask bad. CDC, OSHA, says that every time you touch your mask, you need to change your mask. Your mask should be changed every hour. These kids aren't able to do that. My daughter, when she asked for a mask break at school, she's been told it's too cold outside. Who determines that? Who tells somebody that they can't go get a breath of fresh air? This is just craziness to me. You guys need to really think about what you're doing to these kids. Kids do not die from COVID. How many kids in your district have died from COVID? There were more deaths from influenza A and B before this went on. We didn't mask the kids for that. Is death a tragedy? Absolutely. But guess what? Death happens. We cannot save every single person when they get sick from dying. It's just not able to happen. It's unrealistic. Death is part of life. I'm really tired of it, and the kids are getting tired of it. They have all been talking that if this does not get rescinded, that they will be planning a walkout at Monty Tech. I can tell you right now, they are done. They are absolutely done with this. I hope you take everything into account and everything I make, and I hope you do the right thing for all of our kids. My daughter deserves to communicate with her peers, and you guys are stopping that from happening.
My name is Tiffany Michaud. I'm a Fitchburg resident. I have 2 children in our public school system. And here, in opposition to the mandate, obviously, children have a 99.99% or better chance of recovering from COVID. Some of the effects of masking are fatigue, bacterial and fungal contamination, viral contamination, increased rebreathing of carbon dioxide, increased blood levels of carbon dioxide, a drop in blood oxygen. We can go on for days, headaches, migraines, increased heart rate, dizziness, concentration problems, as everybody else said, anxiety disorders, throat irritation, coughing, mask mouth, which leads to receding gums, halitosis, cavities. We're going to go on to I'm going to skip over, the list I have, and I'm going to go straight to the pore size of an N95 mask. It's as low as 0.30 micrometers, or micrometers, or however you want to say it. The size of a COVID virus particle is less than half of that. It's at 0.12. So every one of your masks, it can go right through. We've had this conversation before. I've been here. I got laughed out of the place. I mean, it was a joke to come then. Hopefully, you'll do the right thing. This is for the kids. They will survive better than any of you. They don't need to be in school for 6-8 hours a day with a mask on their face. They can't see their friends' facial expressions. They can't see their teachers' facial expressions. It makes it hard to learn. You can't interact with your friends. I mean, I have 150 studies printed out right here. I can leave it here for you. You guys can read it. By the CDC and all kinds of other doctors, how ineffective masks are. Little particles from those masks break off. You're breathing that in. It's getting in your lungs. Good idea. These are kids. It's time to take them off. She can't breathe. Take your mask off. You're going to be fine. Elderly woman you know what? We got to wear a diaper on our face. I'm sorry. It's a bunch of crap. It needs to stop. Make the right decision.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's much better.
Good evening, Mayor, school committee members, Board of Health. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. The pandemic started in March of 2020, almost 2 years ago. Right? We were told to follow science. Science told us that we had to stay away from each other 6 feet apart, then 10 feet apart, then keep your family away from you during Thanksgiving. Science then told you to put on a mask, then 2 masks, maybe 2 masks under a face shield. Then we see people start wearing astronaut costumes. Then science told you to go get a vaccine. Then 2 vaccines. Then a third one, a booster, which most people don't understand that the booster is really your first shot, then nothing works. The sign says, follow the numbers. Then if that's the case, there's only one number that really matters. That is the hospitalization number. Since February 1st, the state's number was 1,799. The last time they recorded it, 2 days ago, 832. See the drastic decrease? That number alone is the signs that we should be following. And that tells us it's time to give the people and the children their lives back. That's it. Now, just for conclusion, one more thing. The lady before us, I think is she still here? She said, we are entitled to tell our children what to do. We are not entitled to anything. That is our right to decide what is put on our children's face, and it is our right as a parent to decide what to put in our children's body. 2 weeks. Mr. Mayor extended 2 weeks, doesn't do anything. It's been 2 years. So let's end the mask mandate. Let's get back to normal, Mr. Mayor, and let's give everybody their lives back. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Frank Gallo. I am 16 years old, and I am a student at Fitchburg High School, and I'm also the ex officio member of the school board. And you know what? If I had to describe masks in one word, it would be annoying. It's not a big deal. It doesn't matter. Honestly, 57% of Fitchburg High School juniors will continue to wear masks even if the mandate is dropped. The masks have proven to be effective throughout the pandemic. They do prevent COVID. The science says to wear masks, and the science says to get vaccines. We need to get that vaccination rate up. To be honest, we need to really push that vaccine on people. It's the way to get out of this pandemic, and we're not getting out of it unless we push through it. Now, the main issue with the masking at Fitchburg High School is the inefficacy of enforcing the law. Most students don't wear masks even now. They wear them improperly and improper mask wearing. If I had my mask like this, it's not going to work. My face is all coming out. But if I have my mask like this, it's clearly going to work. As a Fitchburg High School student, I know it's my part to care for other students in my community, and wearing a mask seems to be, at the moment, the best way to do that. However, it seems that coming to light in the upcoming weeks, this may change, but I think it should be up to the experts on this subject, which would be the Board of Health, to make the ultimate decision. Because as a Fitchburg High School student, I just need to say we really understand our position, and we really understand that if we need to wear masks, we need to wear masks. And if they're saying that we don't need to wear masks, we don't need to wear masks. It's just, I want to provide my position as a student that it really is nothing more than a minor nuisance.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you guys. My name is Nathan LeClaire, 435 North Street here in Fitchburg. In 2020, when COVID-19 was new and poorly understood, many parts of U.S. issued mask mandates. Many people fear the unknown. And in that chaotic and frightening time, many thought a small sacrifice to wear a mask in public places. Now, 2 years later, we know much more about this virus and the abundant evidence showing the lack of efficacy in some of these measures that were meant to stop the spread, such as masking and social distancing, hasn't really worked. I'm an auto technician by trade and a homeowner. I wore N95 masks for a long time, way before this pandemic, when I was grinding metals, dealing with painted surfaces, or just dealing with sheetrock. And every single time you take that mask down, you still got dust in your nose and you're cleaning it all out. Viruses are much smaller than dust particles, so guess what? They're getting in there too. In medical settings, doctors and nurses are taught to wash their hands before putting on a mask and only touch the bands of the mask. And make sure that it fits and covers your nose, mouth, and chin. And don't touch the mask once it's on so that the mask itself does not become contaminated. Do we really think our kids or the school staff is doing anything close to this? Tell a 7-year-old to put on a mask and don't touch or drool into that thing for 8 hours and see how that works. It doesn't. There is no evidence that this kind of masking in our school system is worth it at all. But there is evidence that this masking is affecting our children's ability to learn. It's a barrier to speech, recognition, hearing, communication. These masks impede children's ability to code facial expressions. And there are many other downsides to this. Masking kids should have been the parents' decision from the beginning. It's not time to follow political science, it's time to follow real science. The risk of severe disease from COVID-19 to healthy children has always been low. Protect those that are more vulnerable and let our children breathe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jessie DeVola of Mount Elam Road in Fitchburg. I was a state employee, and in October, I resigned after 8 years due to the vaccine mandate. I am now a stay-at-home mom to my children who are ages 5, 3, 3, and 1. Currently, I homeschool my 5-year-old son instead of sending him to preschool because I am against the mask mandate. I refuse to have him wear a mask for 7 to 8 hours a day. It is difficult enough for some adults to wear a mask all day. Imagine a young child. Wearing a mask does not stop the transmission of the COVID-19 virus. It's been proven that a cloth mask is ineffective in stopping the transmission of the disease. A cloth mask is only 10% effective. Is the city going to provide an N95 mask for every student who attends school? Are they going to provide a new mask daily? Anyone with young children will tell you how unsanitary the masks are, especially during cold and flu season. They collect snots from runny noses and any bacteria from a sneeze. It is like wearing a dirty handkerchief on your face. If masks are so effective, I want to know why these steps to reduce transmission were not implemented with the flu. Before COVID, we had the cold and flu season, and people had the option to be vaccinated. Your children's pediatrician would strongly recommend you vaccinate your child. Them, as well as schools, promoted the importance of washing your hands to prevent the spread of germs. Although the flu and COVID vaccine are different viruses, they present themselves the same. According to Johns Hopkins Medicine, both viruses are upper respiratory illnesses that spread through droplets or smaller virus particles in the air or surface from an infected person. Both illnesses can cause fever, cough, body aches, and sometimes vomiting and diarrhea. Both can result in pneumonia. Both flu and COVID-19 can be asymptomatic, mild, severe, or even fatal. COVID is here to stay just like the flu. We shouldn't allow it to cause such a disruption in our lives. After 2 years, with all the research and data that's been collected, it's safe to say that anyone who has contracted the virus has natural immunity. So they will not be severely affected if they get it again. Also, a vaccine has been created to help reduce the symptoms. People who want to protect themselves can get vaccinated against the virus. At this point, I believe that people need to start taking personal responsibility and take the necessary steps to protect themselves and their families if their immune system is compromised or they simply do not want to contract this disease. People need to stop blaming the maskless or unvaccinated for the transmission of the disease, because even while wearing a mask and being vaccinated, people are still contracting COVID. Also, excuse me, before I close, I also want to add that the argument of keeping the mandate because Fitchburg's percentage of vaccinated is lower than the state's percentage is a slap in the face to its residents. I watched the last Board of Health meeting, but what I can't say the word, sorry, but that's okay. what you said, it was implied that people here are not informed or are misinformed. Therefore, they are not making proper decisions when it comes to their health. I strongly disagree with her because you cannot turn on the TV, go on social media, browse the internet, or listen to the radio without being inundated with COVID statistics or ads about the vaccine. People are choosing not to get vaccinated or wear a mask through the information that is being disseminated to the public. It's not the government's job or health officials' job to make these decisions for the people. It is the people's responsibility to take the necessary steps to keep themselves and families safe and healthy.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mary Stebbins. I work in a Pittsburgh Public Elementary School. We promised our children an education, and they're not getting it. I have second graders that do not know what a normal day of school is, and that's sad. That's sad. It's gym, class, everybody spread out. All we do all day long is put your mask up. Put the mask up. Did you wash your hands? Wash your hands, please. All day long. They come through the cafeteria where I work. We don't see them smile because we have what they... We don't know when they're grumpy because everybody's behind a mask. It's got to stop. We need to take that step forward and deal whatever comes down the pipe with it. We dealt with COVID. We did pretty good. Now we have to make that change. And I hope you all think of the children in the schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jean Robbie. I'm a member of Fitchburg. Yay. You and you know my babies. Okay, so here I go. And bear with me, I am dyslexic, so sometimes I stumble over my own words. Okay, there.
There you go.
All right, I want to tell you how masks are harming my grandchildren. One is in elementary school, one is in junior high. The oldest is on the spectrum, ASD. He has a sensory issue with the mask, and the mask's feeling like 1,000 needles stabbing into his face. Can you even imagine that? Because I can't. Sorry. ASD children and adults on the higher end of the spectrum have had fear pushed at them so much that they are afraid to say anything about how much pain they are actually in with these masks. Afraid the school will kick them out. Afraid they'll be in trouble, that the faculty or some of the kids will ridicule or retaliate against them. These are things that I've had to listen to. He has gotten upper respiratory infections wearing a mask many times. They don't give us antibiotics. Thank goodness I can make my own. They can go anywhere without a mask except for school. Why? The other is a third grader. You have failed her. You have failed her. Sorry. This is identified as the most crucial level. You see, it is important reading literacy because it is the final year children are learning to read, after which students are reading to learn. If they are not proficient readers when they begin fourth grade, as much as half of the curriculum they will be taught will be incomprehensible. This is from the NCSL, National Conference of State Legislation, December 17th, 2019. Second, facial expressions are critically important. Children with strong face reading skills may achieve popularity at school, but most importantly, they tend to perform better academically. Facial expressions are linked with social, academic, and emotional outcomes. Again, you have failed her because you keep a mask on her face and she can't see facial expressions. On your own website, step 3, identifying our commitments, goals, and action steps. 3.1, our commitments. Curriculum that is accessible to and effective of all students. Tiered system of academic and social emotional support. They're not getting that. District-wide. Staff development and diverse recruitment plan. Stop demanding they get jabbed. A sense of welcoming and belonging with students, parents, staff, and all members of the community, and you. I found this on January 3rd, 2022, Fitchburg Public School webpage. We are the parents and the community you talk about. So explain to us how come we are, or how welcomed we are, how our children's emotional skills are being helped, where school is the only place they are masked. I would like you, Mr. Chairman, and the rest of the board, as well as you, to explain to me and to prevent all of us parents and community, as well as you, with factual science behind COVID-19, the reason you keep Fitchburg children muzzled. We are not going away. Whatever money anybody is getting to keep this going, give it back. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Jacqueline Wetchey. I think and I'm a resident of Fitchburg. I think Senator Turan was correct when he spoke about the importance of hospitalizations. I'm not sure if the epidemiologist is looking at the latest MADPH data. They now have a separate section for incidental hospitalizations. I looked at that today. Over half the hospitalizations that are called COVID hospitalizations, it's incidental. The person went to the hospital for something else. I feel are being manipulated. Also, if you look at death data, it's highly stratified by age. The last time I checked with the city clerk in Fitchburg, not a single child over the entire course of the pandemic in Fitchburg has died of COVID-19. I'm petitioning to remove the entire mask mandate, not just in the schools, but in all municipal buildings. All people are entitled to freedom and bodily autonomy, not just those in wealthy suburbs where 80% or more of people are vaccinated. The state recognized this on Tuesday when they lifted their mask advisory. Other vaccine equity initiative communities in Massachusetts are recognizing this as well. Brockton, Everett, Fall River, Haverhill, Leominster, Lowell, Lynn, Malden, New Bedford, Worcester, and soon Framingham. Worcester is in our own county. They have a larger population than we do. Their health director, Dr. Michael Hirsch, who is a pediatrician at UMass Memorial, filed the motion to rescind their mask mandate. I think he sets us a good example. Fitchburg's mandate has a disproportionate impact, also known as a disparate impact, on both lower-income residents in the Fitchburg Housing Authority buildings. If you're wealthy enough to live in a private apartment complex, it doesn't apply to you. If you're poor in public housing, you got to put on that mask, or you could be punished with a $300 fine. People of color are disproportionately affected. 75% of the public school students in Fitchburg are persons of color. This mandate is discriminatory. Discrimination is not just people in white hoods driving around yelling out racial slurs. Discrimination is structural. Discrimination is when a paternalistic, patronizing Board of Health micromanages city residents because you think we are too stupid to make decisions for ourselves and our families. This mandate is unjust and it should be rescinded immediately for every municipal building. If you want to put in a mask advisory, go ahead. And lastly, I want to thank all of you who have come out today. At the last Board of Health meeting, Dr. Bogdasarian was very dismissive of me. He said, "You're just one person." Look, it's not just one person, it's many people. Thank you.
Hi. Fitchburg resident, born and raised. I have 3 kids. 2 of my kids go to Applewild, which they will be taking their masks off on the 28th. Older daughter goes to St. Bernard's, and she's with Linda. She's amazing, as we heard a speech from her. I'm going to come at this from a different angle. I am a behaviorist and an IAP support specialist. I work throughout Worcester County. I've been in every school you can imagine. Every single school. Do you know what this is doing to the special ed population? Do you have any idea what this is doing? They can't keep the masks on. So what does that say for them? What is that going to do to them? How do they get their services? Through a Zoom? Are they going to do speech through a Zoom? Or are they going to go to school with a mask trying to learn speech with a mask on? Do you know what this is doing? Do you have any idea what this is doing, what this has done the past 2 years? Anybody? You have no idea. You have no idea.
I have an idea.
Do you?
If you ask, yeah, I do.
Well, it's nice to see your face, by the way.
Okay.
I deal with parents on a daily basis. I hear the tears, and I hear the tears because I don't get to see their faces. It's not good. It's not good, and it's getting worse. The kids are regressing. This has to stop. You all know it's wrong. It has to stop. Please listen to the parents. They're the ones that should decide. This is a free country. Remember that.
Good evening. My name is Andy Van Hazinga. I'm a resident at 59 Osgood Street in Fitchburg. And like everybody else here, I'm looking forward to the time where we don't have to wear masks. I'm looking forward to a time where we can return to normalcy. But I do think when times are not normal, it's dangerous to pretend they're normal. And I really encourage you to consider whether it's safe to remove the mask mandate in that decision, not just because we're frustrated with wearing masks. We don't like wearing masks. Masks alone don't prevent the spread of COVID-19, but they are one tool amongst many other tools that we're using to contain this pandemic. And I want to make sure that as we make the decision whether or not to take the masks off, if the other tools that we have are being utilized and are effective enough to keep our kids safe, because that's really my primary priority. I have children in the school system, and I want them to be safe when they go to school. So I would like to consider, are the testing programs that we have in place sufficient to identify cases of COVID-19, to isolate those children from the other kids and prevent it spread in the schools? And right now in one of my son's schools, the participation rate is 35%. Is that high enough to be effective? In the take-home test program, the participation rate is 25%. Is that high enough? Another tool is vaccinations. Right now in their age group, my boys, the vaccination rate in the city is 22%. Is that high enough to keep them safe, to have enough immunity? Excuse me, I sat and let you talk and everyone else talk. Okay, but I have...
Don't interrupt. Please, everyone, be courteous. Go ahead, Mr.
Thank you.
Van Huizinga.
So is that a situation where it's safe not to have the masks? And there are children that are immunocompromised, that are vulnerable to the COVID-19 virus more than other people. Is there a situation where they can be protected? What happens to their classes? Because masks aren't just to protect the wearer, they're to protect other people, to protect the spread. And right now, the COVID-19 cases are declining, and that's a good thing. And I'm very excited about that. And I hope that's the end of the pandemic. But we've gone through this before. There have been other waves of infections, of different variants. Is this the last one? Is there going to be another wave? And will we be prepared to react when that happens? Will we have to go back and forth, or what will we be able to identify it? We'll be able to stop it spread before it gets worse. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Michael Allen. I'm a Fitchburg resident and business owner. So a lot of this is just reiteration of what a lot of the parents have said already, but why continue masking our children? Are they really at risk? I think it's been clarified already that the survival rate really is essentially 99.9%. I think the numbers indicate that pretty clearly. I'm gonna go here, but you know, I did get some notification that the teachers' unions are one of the largest voices that have been heard in regards to the situation thus far, and I want to remind everybody who may be confused that our school's top priority should be the children's best interest, and the children are not responsible for the staff, the faculty members, or anyone else. They're not. That's not their responsibility. As adults, we are responsible for ourselves. And it really should be about the student's best interest. At the end of the day, the teachers aren't forced to be employed in any certain specific environment. They can find employment elsewhere. I know that sounds harsh, but that's a reality. That's the reality. No one's forcing them to work there. However, there are children in this area that have no other alternative. You know, their parents can't pull them. Their parents don't have other resources. They rely on public schools. They have to be there. So as far as the case fluctuation goes, I don't really want to sit here and argue the effectiveness of the mask. But at the end of the day, masks have been consistently implemented, and the numbers have not consistently gone down. They've gone down and up. That's a pretty massive inconsistency as far as the argument goes for how effective masks are. I'll leave that at that. So I'd like to also talk about the overall rise in health decline. And, I think the misinterpretation here is not about it being COVID related. It's the decline is related to what's being implemented. And I understand a lot of those are made with, good intent in mind. But really, we're not dealing with these children being affected in all these negative ways by COVID. It's shown that they recover. It's shown that they're not dying here in Fitchburg and in the state. So really what we're looking at is a rise in suicide, which has been documented. From 2019 to 2022, it's risen dramatically. I do have some statistics here. I'm not going to waste the time going into them. I'm just making the point that these things have increased. The mental, these issues are not just the physical, dealing with kids who are, coming home. They're, dealing with headaches and other, issues, whether it's even just the skin, the irritation, but it's not even just that. You've got kids that are literally not able to interact with one another. You have kids that are actually, afraid to question anything that doesn't make sense. And that's kind of the last point I want to make here. I can take my kids to a sporting event. They'll watch the Super Bowl on television. They'll go anywhere else, a restaurant, anywhere else, and they don't have to wear the mask. But for some reason, I have to explain to them as a parent why it makes sense for them to wear it in the school. It does not make any sense. And for me to tell my kids that they have to do what does not make sense is not something I'm willing to do. And I'm not going to do it any longer, and I'm not alone.
Good evening. My name is Bob Gagner. I'm a resident of Fitchburg. I live on 85 Rennock Road. And I'm doing something that doesn't make sense. I was wearing a mask in the front row because it's a public building and that's the law, right? But that's the only reason. It's a bunch of bullshit too, right? Now, that said, I can go down to Market Basket. I can go down to Cinema World. I don't got to wear a mask, right? So do my kids. They can go grocery shopping with me. They can go into other public places. They don't got to wear a mask. So how do you do that? It's because they told you to. That's the only reason I could say that's the law. That's why, right? I'm not going to repeat a lot of the stuff that other people said because they made good points and they stand by themselves. Frank came up here on behalf of the student, but I don't think he truly represents them all. If he wants to wear a mask every day, let him. Don't tell him. It's the kid's choice. It should be the parent's choice, not dictated by you. And by that point, I also want to remind you that you are elected officials and employees of us. We're going to make a vote not to drop this tonight, and I don't mean 2 weeks from now. I mean tonight. I want to hear a really good reason why. And it's not because our neighbors are doing it. I want to know why we're doing it and have good reason. Show me the science. Show me the data. Show me why kids should keep wearing masks. Again, it's some of the same stuff everyone said. I want to be represented, and I hope you do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, I'm Phil. I'm a student. Hi, Ms. Reynolds. I had you as a sub. You're wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'd just like to first give a couple quotes. Out of the Universal Declaration on Bioethics and Human Rights of 2005, Article 6 states, any preventive, diagnostic, interactive medical intervention is only to be carried out with the prior, free, and informed consent of the person who based on adequate info, concern based on adequate info. The person should, when appropriate, may withdraw at any time without discrimination and prejudice. I would also like to read a quote by Thomas Paine, one of our most famous founders. He states, "The greatest tyrannies are always perpetrated in the name of noblest causes." That is the story of COVID-19 Great Reset upon this country, upon the global community, upon the municipal city. This is absolutely atrocious. What has gone on for the last 2 years, masking young children, is criminal, un-American, ungodly, disgusting, fraud in every possible sense of all those words. I would also like to read a quote from Booker T. Washington, in which he states, and I'd like all of you to listen to this very carefully. Booker T. Washington said, "A lie doesn't become truth. Wrong doesn't become right. And evil doesn't become good just because it's accepted by a majority." Two more times. A lie doesn't become truth. Wrong doesn't become right, and evil doesn't become good just because it's accepted by a majority. A lie doesn't become truth. Wrong doesn't become right, and evil doesn't become good just because it's accepted by a majority. And I have had the soft, slow, steady boot of medical tyranny, of the medical community, the school system, and the city government, state governments, and federal government, all under the control of the World Economic Forum Great Reset, orchestrated by Klaus Schwab and Mark Benioff. Please look this up. I will not sit here and listen to all these stories. This is child abuse, child torture. I cannot ever imagine being 5, 4, 3, 6, 7, 10 years old and have to deal with any of these things you've imposed. None of you, except for Ms. Reynolds, none of you clearly have ever gone to any of these schools during the pandemic to really assess and actually talk and ask and interact with these children. This is absolutely disgusting and fraudulent, and all of you are in dereliction of your duties. God bless you all. I pray for all of you, and I weep for the children that all of you are responsible for delaying their academic, mental, and social health. God help us all.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, please.
Hello, my name is Tia Gopal, and I am a student at Fitchburg High, and I am an ex officio member. I am going to be on both sides. Yes, I understand that it's been 2 years and we have been wearing the mask. I know it's tiring, I know people don't like it. But we also have to consider the people who are immunocompromised. There are some people who have asthma, or some people who have immunocompromised conditions where they need to wear the mask. There are people who need to protect their families at the same time too. They can't just think about themselves because they also have underlying conditions. I believe that we should have the freedom of choice. People who want to wear the mask and they are comfortable wearing the mask, they should. But people who are vaccinated and they feel like they don't want to wear the mask, they should do that too. But I highly suggest that unvaccinated individuals and those who are at high risk for certain conditions should continue to wear the mask. This is why we need choice. People need to have choice to wear the mask or not. Thank you.
I apologize. I just have one last thing. I had COVID. I have one lung. Guess how I got over it? Ivermectin.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Just quickly, so Dean Tran was talking about the numbers in Massachusetts of hospitalizations. Of those 838, 417 were fully vaccinated, and the other half weren't not. They got COVID in the hospital. The science has not shown that the vaccine has worked, but it has shown that it doesn't work. You can still get it, give it, and die from it. So if you want a mask, mask. You want to vaccinate, vaccinate. But we all should be able to make our own choices.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Jamie Bunton, and I hope I'm allowed to speak as a guest today. I am a Monty Tech mom from one of the accompanying school districts. Ooh. What you decide today will affect not only Fitchburg direct public schools, but all of these towns that are sending kids to Monty Tech. And I just want to take a minute to share with you some thoughts. The CDC...
Do you live in Fitchburg, ma'am?
I am affected by your decisions today as a Monty Tech parent because we were told that the decisions of our mask situation at Monty Tech is because of this decision made tonight. Excuse me?
All right.
So am I allowed to
Please,
speak?
continue.
I've been a
Go ahead.
resident of Fitchburg actually my whole life until I moved to a rural community.
Okay.
So I
Go ahead.
appreciate the time.
Go ahead. Yep.
Thank you. The CDC has now finally agreed that after 2 years of this cruelty that masks don't work, unless of course you're wearing a respirator mask. Students are on a bus to go to an operating room. They're going to a place, an operating room, it has open wounds, a dentist's office or some other OSHA-related job site. These are settings where workers need masks for a specific time period for a specific task. My daughter attends Monty Tech, and the results of your meeting tonight, as I expressed, is going to affect us. Adults are forcing children of all ages to wear masks over 8 hours a day for 5 days a week, threatening them for daring to take it off without permission. Demerits, like it's just crazy. This is mandated child abuse. It's only common sense that forced mask wearing is harming a whole generation. Covering their faces all day only impedes breathing, causing headaches and anxiety, and makes fertile breeding grounds for harmful bacteria. This practice is nothing less than assault on all aspects of their immune system. If the teachers and staff are worried and have vulnerable situations, they are welcome to wear masks. Nobody is stopping them from doing so. That's their choice, and others have a choice not to wear one. And telling someone that wearing their mask will make another mask work doesn't make any sense and infringes on an individual's right to bodily autonomy. And as far as the comment that was just recently said that if you're unvaccinated, you should be forced to wear a mask, no. The parents, we are not going to have segregation in our schools and separate kids between those that decided to take an experimental treatment in their bodies and those that have decided not to. And I do appreciate the time. be a guest in your meeting today. And on a note, and I appreciate what you said about the public health, about the special ed. I am part of the special ed, my daughter is part of the special ed department at Monty Tech. And while my daughter is a high schooler and we've gone through some of those formative years, I know that there's been a delay, and other people that have kids in special ed have been, their kids are delayed on speech and so forth, and emotional learning and smiling, and it's just time. It's time to end this. And I just, you know, I respect your jobs are very hard, and at times you do the best you can with the information you know. But it's been 2 years. You know, it's been 2 years. We see the what's come out of this. So again, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And again, thank you for taking off your mask tonight.
Hi, I'm a retired nurse practitioner and just Children's Health Defense. You're in violation of the federal law. In 1995, Rwanda genocide started in school with teachers' propaganda instilling in the minds of innocent, happy children who were friends and played together, the Hutus and the Tutsi. Teachers pitted one group against the other by belittling and shaming one group, vaxxed, unvaxxed, masked, unmasked. It did not take long before the children followed suit, and prejudice was instilled in the minds of many. As time went by, one group ended up cutting the heads off and slaughtering with machetes handed out by the government of their once friends and schoolmates. History is repeating itself with the poison that in the government, like Jeff Riley, Commissioner, and all who keep unnecessarily demanding or continuously supporting and promoting that the children be in a mass experiment jabbing of an unapproved gene therapy into themselves, proven to be dirty, dangerous product known to cause harm at the cellular level and serious injuries. There's been over 1 million injuries. We should be...
What's your name and where do you live, ma'am?
Mary Macklin.
Where do you live, ma'am? You live in Fitchburg?
Yes.
What address, ma'am?
Caspian Way.
Thank you.
We should be screaming every day at all of those who are blind to these truths and don't care and are supporting the money our government has been doling out billions. Fitchburg alone, over $414 million in order to get this money, play the game, the mass plan, ESSER. Medical does not belong in school. Parents decide what they want for their child. We don't want the money for tracking, masking, testing students and teachers sitting outside in their cars, swabbing their noses when they are perfectly healthy. Meanwhile, inside, those promoting these insanities, principals and superintendents sit at their desks unmasked all day while the little ones suffer and can't breathe naturally. This is child abuse. This is insanity while you promote fear and anxiety and ill health effects. Your agenda, if this is your agenda, then you're liable and it is you need to be served and lose your jobs and the damages you put on the populace. People have tolerated this long enough. The world professionals who have devoted their lives to study viruses and epidemiology have come together in Massachusetts, Great Barrington Declaration. They said that this would be over in approximately 3 months, natural with great herd immunity, and resolved itself as viruses do. But the well-planned lockdowns, separations, and have delayed that natural process. Hype and fear factors work and gets the masses quickly on board, as you have promoted to what has happened. Have any of you ever masked up and played a basketball game? Not one of you would last 3 minutes. Back-to-back basketball games, basketball. That's what you're making these kids do. This is sick. And in conclusion, this is sick and twisted what you've done to our children, yet blind eyes don't see. Even Helen Keller could see more than those who have their sight. Thank you.
My name is Dr. John Strang. I'm a retired philosophy professor. I've lived in Fitchburg since 2003. I live at 304 High Rock Road. I'm going to speak only to one issue that's come up tonight, and that is the incompetence of many of the people sitting behind the desks. I attended a first meeting of this Board of Health a few months ago at the invitation of Ms. Wacha. And in the course of that, I asked Dr. Bogdasarian a question. I said, why is it that Fitchburg requires in its civic buildings, it requires you wear a mask. But if you go to the town hall in Lunenburg, you don't have to wear a mask. If you go to Leominster's town hall or any civic buildings there, you don't have to wear a mask. You know what Dr. Bodgassarian told me? He said, well, maybe they don't care as much about the health of their people in those cities. In other words, he made that asinine comment about the people in charge of public health in Leominster and Lunenburg. That's an example of the incompetence of some of the people on this board, that you could make such a charge. You would actually think that that would carry some coherent weight. That's all I have to say.
Anyone else wishing to speak? No, ma'am, you've had your opportunity. I'm sorry. Yes.
I'm Sophia Bartasarian. I live on Flat Rock Road in Fitchburg. And my question, frankly, is for you, Superintendent Chocola. I know that there are children that go to the public school system that are ill themselves. They either have leukemia, they're obese, they have diabetes, juvenile diabetes. And masks are horrible. Everybody hates them. But it's one piece in the arsenal of protecting yourself from COVID. What are the accommodations do you think the school will have to make for those children that really do need that extra piece? And you don't have to answer the question now. I would just like to hear it deliberated. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Crimes against humanity, it's inexcusable. Inexcusable. You are all culpable. You are all responsible.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. You've had your opportunity. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Excuse me, I'm a little nervous. My name is Troy. I live in Fitchburg. I echo a lot of the sentiments that people have already said, so my comments will be short. Eventually, mask wearing will come back to hurt us all. As people wear masks, their immune systems are being weakened. We all know this. It does not take a doctor or nurse to figure out that one is breathing in one's own exhaled air while mask wearing. Breathing is, excuse me, fundamental to life. The Declaration of Independence states that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Freedom is given by God, as is life, and is supposed to be protected by government. You cannot take my freedom away. If you do, you'll answer to God. Blocking freedom and blocking life are crimes. Those who are promoting such blocking and are therefore guilty of crimes, whether or not that comes up in a court of law. If I have my freedom, I have my life. I can choose the right thing within the bounds of freedom. One thrust of the Declaration, of Independence and the Constitution is that if a government is going against the life of the people, it is the right and duty of the people to change and or dissolve said government. Masks are going against the very lives of the people. We want our lives back.
Anyone else wishing to speak, please? One more time. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Thank you for the time. Leominster did not do this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome. All right. Thank you, everyone. We're now going into discussion and deliberation by the Fitchburg School Committee and the Fitchburg Board of Health regarding the current mask mandate. We have questions from the members of the panel. Ms. Reynolds.
I am really heartened by the presence of these people. This is the only way, this is how we're meant to live. Don't leave it up to us. You got to speak up. You're the parents. The people. Yeah, we're the people. And this is what we've been missing. Also, as this young man said, I'm pleased that you were allowed to speak, because up to now, for 4 years, I was not allowed to. And briefly now, I'm beginning to be able to. So I appreciate that, to the opening up. We've got to speak together. I want to say that I've heard a lot of things about science and nothing about when, in the beginning, of course, we were all in a panic. But we have learned a lot in the 2 years. And I myself have had COVID, and I got help from the 500 American doctors that would give me immediate attention. And I recovered from it, and I received the anti-clonal, or whatever they call that, which made a huge. And so whoever pointed out that irresponsibility of us adults, you're right. We should have known a lot better, and we should have gone to our medical people, and the medical people serve us. They don't surmount us. They serve us. All along, I have asked, whenever a presentation has been made to us by the superintendent on the COVID facts, I said, where is the other side of the data, the harm? Where is the harm done? Where is the short-term harm? Where are the long-term harm? It's never in the presentation. I don't know if you noticed that tonight. Yeah, it never is. And I've specifically asked for it, specifically sent a letter to the mayor to present to our health department, and I was anticipating that there'd be results tonight, but there's not. Another question, and one lady was brave enough to bring it up. I think it's about money, because I think life's about money. Oh,
$7,414,837. You have from the state, ESSER,
yeah, and I can wait. Please let me speak. Yeah. Yes, and that's really impersonal. It can change your mind. It can twist your mind that you're doing good because you get all this money and you can, look what you can do for the schools in the future. But as somebody pointed out, I have been in the schools and I've seen terrible things happen. What? They don't look terrible. Everybody's turned into an automaton. I've taught for years, and kids were kids, and you had problems, and you had work, and you had relations. Kids come into the building, they don't talk. They come into a classroom, no one talks. The occasional person says hello and thank you for being here. But it's turned us into another type of human being. And the health effects, the mental effects, I agree that it's an unforeseen harm. It should be stopped. So I just wanted to point out, you've got to balance the harm versus the good on all of these things. And you have to be responsible to the people. You're absolutely right. We work for you. I don't get paid for this, though, whoever said that. The city council gets paid. The school committee does not get paid. But you give me life, and I feel like I'm part of the community, and I'm 100% with those who are demanding, rightfully so, stop immediately. Stop the harm.
Mr. Horgan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to start by saying I am extremely grateful for each and every one of you for being here tonight. In my 4 years on the school committee, we've never had a meeting this well attended. It feels like we're making a decision as a community, having the most voices heard that I've ever seen or heard. And I appreciate each and every one of you and your testimonies. Now, with that said, they are anecdotal, but I do take weight to them, and they matter to me deeply. To me, this really comes down to the effectiveness of the policy. And the empirical data shows that cloth masks are very ineffective against this, especially Omicron. The way I see it, K95 masks are the only thing that's effective. And when we first installed the mask policy, it was written that a 2-ply cloth mask would suffice, and then we revised it to be more in line with CDC guidance, be more flexible with the changing guidelines, to be able to enforce KN95 masks, which the data showed from before the pandemic even started, were much more effective than cloth masks. Now, the enforcement of that has been extremely difficult. From nurses, principals, throughout the district, it's been extremely hard to enforce the KN95s. People can wear what mask they want. So to me, the decision tonight is whether to extend the policy for 2 weeks until March or to let it stop on the 27th, 28th when the governor, well, when it's up. So I don't see those 2 weeks extending the mask policy. If we're not able to enforce KN95s, which are what's effective right now, if we're not able to enforce that in the schools, we're either going to have to increase the mandate to mandate KN95s, and I don't think we stand on that ground, and I don't think if we did that, the policy would be very enforceable and therefore very effective. I think right now the most effective thing to do, before I say that, you know, this decision comes with a lot of weight, and there's a lot of different factors that I'm trying to measure and trying to weigh, including all your voices. And a huge factor is extremely hard to measure, and that's the mental impact of this entire pandemic, the psychological impact, the emotional impact that it has on the kids, the lack of normalcy, all that. It's hard to measure. And all of your testimonies tonight have helped me paint that picture, and I take that into account. So I want to hear more deliberation on this, but the way I see it right now, I don't see the extension being effective or being really enforceable. So I think I'm going to be advocating for ending the mandate when it's up. And with that said, I appreciate everybody's testimony. And like I said, this decision is really hard. I always try to make the best decision. I try to weigh all the factors as best I can. And thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. I suppose I'll take my opportunity to speak. This is going on for over 2 years, very difficult years. I know people out there think that we make these decisions rationally and without being informed. I can tell you that's not the case. It's difficult to point that out. I have the greatest of respect for everyone that spoke tonight, because much of what you said I certainly agree with. I've had a problem with the mask mandate myself. But we follow the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education guidance. Now, maybe we're fools to do that. And we follow the Department of Public Health and their direction. You know, someone explained to me that it's like flying a plane, trying to build a plane while you're flying it. No one's ever gone through COVID, this kind of an event, certainly not in my lifetime. So we need to rely on some of those people that we believe have the best of intentions, and I believe they did or do. Things change. And I certainly agree with Mr. Horgan that this is now the time to put these masks aside and to bring my 4-year-old granddaughter, who goes to school and complains about the darn thing all the time. And I don't blame her. And it's only 3 half days a week. It's terrible. So I hope that Board of Health members, along with the school committee, will agree that the 28th is when we're going to get rid of the masks. Thank you. Yes. Yes.
Hi, I'm Sandy Knipe. I'm a Board of Health member. I'm also a nurse. And I just want to point out that we're not elected officials. We're appointed, and we don't get paid. But we're here because we want to be. I have been working with COVID patients, cases, for 2 years now, since we had our first case. I've been doing contact tracing. I was in the thick of it until Victoria took over. I was doing it night and day, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day some days. So I've seen how treacherous it can be. I've also seen in the schools how the cases can go up when they come back from holiday breaks and vacations. And so rather than I just think it would be better to end the mask mandate 2 weeks after the break. What's 2 more weeks? That way we can see if the cases are going to.
All right, okay.
That's how I feel.
Ms. Knight, speak. Thank you.
May I say something
Doctor,
too?
yes.
Yeah, I want to also to thank everyone for the hard work you've done. Obviously, a lot of research going into the efficacy of masks, and we hear loud and clear your frustration with them. We don't like them either. I've been fiddling with mine. Can't wait to get to the time when we can take them off. I want you to understand, though, that from the very beginning, when we didn't have vaccines, masks were very important. And this has been, as the mayor said, building an airplane while you're flying it. I think we've been learning as we go along what's effective and what's not. But I want you to know that every decision that the Board of Health has made has been with the best of interests of Fitchburg in our hearts, and especially for our children. We in no way have wanted to torture kids. We've in no way wanted to make them suffer. Granted, there are some side effects that have come with needing to wear masks. There are side effects for every medicines that doctors give. These are things that we have to accept. But everything we've done has been with the best interests of Fitchburg at heart, the children at heart. Masks are effective in that they prevent spread of big droplets. Granted, a little virus will go through, but most of the virus that goes in droplets that are big enough, and so masks do prevent that. I do favor getting rid of the mask mandate as quickly as we can. Whether it'd be better to wait 2 weeks till kids get back from break, or whether we should do it on the 28th, that's fine. And I do agree that everyone should have his or her choice with respect to adults and children as to whether or not you want to wear a mask. If you're immunocompromised, wear a mask. If you haven't been vaccinated, we recommend wearing a mask. We're not forcing it. We've never given a fine to anyone who hasn't worn a mask or hasn't been vaccinated. We just have the best interests in Fitchburg at heart. Every decision we've made, whether it be COVID or anything else that comes before us, has been with that in mind. We're not perfect. We don't know everything. We're doing the best we can. We've tried to help you all. Hope you appreciate that. I'm speaking to you without raising my voice, and so I hope that you'll understand that we're just doing the best we can for you, and appreciate your listening to us, and also for understanding perhaps where we're coming from. Appreciate it.
Mr. Walsh.
Again, to reiterate what other members have said, I appreciate you all coming tonight. I wish we had this many people at every school committee meeting. There are a lot of other things that we deal with that affect our children also. Seeing one of the graphs that Superintendent Jokela showed, it's obvious that after a holiday weekend or a long break, there is a big spike. And the thing that I don't want to see is that if the mask mandate is lifted on the 28th, within a few days, a number of our students, a number of our staff, a number of our teachers come down with COVID and can't be in the school. We're already short in terms of paraprofessionals, permanent subs, substitute teachers. And if the spike continues with what we saw on the slide, it could be devastating to the students in our schools because there may not be enough teachers to teach. And I'm in favor of postponing the mask mandate and lift it on March 14th. Give it time for the 2 weeks after February vacation. Can I finish my conversation, please? I didn't interrupt you when you spoke.
Please. No. Please, ma'am, please. Go ahead, Mr. Walsh.
I would be in favor of keeping the mask mandate and ending it on March 14th. And the other thing to remember that none of us here have control over is that even if we lift the mask mandate, all of the students still must wear masks when they take the bus to and from school. No. Yes, they do. That's a federal law. That's not a law that we are set by the state.
Please.
Well,
okay. Thank you.
I will.
No.
I will be in favor of extending the mask mandate and having it end on March 14th. Thank you.
Yes, Doctor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I promised during my campaign that I would listen and that all would be heard. This is my first time sitting here in person, so I just want you to know that. I heard what the majority of you said. I care about the safety of everyone. I don't want your children to suffer anymore. I don't want them to be hurt. I don't want them to go through all these psychological and social emotional problems and depression and all these things. I don't want that to happen to none of your children. I also heard a different perspective from a student. He talked about choice. He said that they will still, at the high school, wear masks, about 60% of them. I heard that. So he's talking about choice. And I want them to be able to have their choice also, because I want everybody to be safe. And I'm also concerned about what the young lady with the pink mask said, that there are some students out there that are already sick and compromised, and they have all kinds of problems, and they need protection. What can I do so that everybody can be protected? I don't want nobody to get sick. I myself, I wear 2 masks because I don't want to get sick. I don't want none of you to get sick. Whatever needs to be done, I don't know what's the choice, what can be done. And then I'm thinking also about the teachers. You know, the number of teachers that are not able to come to school because of this Omicron, that they're getting sick and they can't come to school. There's going to be nobody there to take care of the students in school. I volunteered to go to the high school tomorrow to be able to sit by the bathroom so that students can enter into the bathroom because they don't have enough people to cover. What else can I do? I'm listening to what you're saying. I don't want nobody to be sick. I don't like sickness, and I don't know what can be done, Mr. Mayor. Please.
No. There's no question and answers here.
Dr. Fauci said everyone's going to get it.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Thank you, Doctor. Yes, Mr. Stevens.
Thank you all for coming. It's great to see you here. I've heard you. I support ending the mask mandate on the 28th. Some of you that know me, I take offense to some of the things that were said. I have failed the children. No, I haven't failed the children. I've lived in Fitchburg for over 80 years. I've been working with children for over 60 years. I was a principal and administrator for 35 years. And I have always worked to serve the children of Fitchburg. That's been my life. I have grandchildren at Fitchburg High School. I hate the mask. I don't like wearing it. Somebody said something about Mr. Jokel sitting in his office without a mask. No, he doesn't. I visit him. We wear our masks. We wear our masks at the school department. Right now, we've been mandated. I don't like it, and I wear it. And I know the children don't like it. And I know there'll probably be a spike after the 28th, but we're going to have to live with it. So that's how I'll be voting.
Mr. Murray.
So I just want to echo what everyone else said about people coming today. I just want to thank you for coming. I've been here on the Board of Health for 11 years. I've been coming every month for 11 years, sometimes more than that. For the last 2 years, we've been meeting every month and sometimes more than that for COVID. Dr. Bagdasarian and Sandy have been doing even more than that. They've been working all the clinics and really going above and beyond. So I know you're all frustrated, and we've been frustrated too. The data does change. The recommendations from the CDC change, from the WHO change, from the DPH change, and we've tried to keep up with those changes, and it's not easy and doesn't make anybody happy when things change. Some people they're not gonna believe it. And from a communication standpoint, it hasn't been great. That said, we've been doing this for 2 years, and I do take a little bit of offense to some of the people who've kind of gotten worked up and, praying for us now. For 2 years, we've kind of been alone in this. I mean, what Miss Wetchy, I cannot say she has not been showing up. She has. But she's been the only one for the moment. We have had one more person show up once. She's pretty much been the only one. So we've been doing this alone. And so we thank you for coming out tonight. And it's easy to say, in hindsight, what we should have done or what has happened. And we kind of wish that all of our meetings are open. They're posted. This has been on the agenda every time. I would have liked for you to help make these decisions. I would have liked you to be here. And we would have listened to you, and we will listen to you tonight. I am in favor of ending the mandate on the 28th. Not because I believe in any conspiracies or I really don't even believe it's an affront to personal freedom. But what I've heard tonight and what I see tonight is it's not going to work because people aren't going to wear them. And they're not going to wear them correctly. And so for that reason, why bother? I mean, I kind of feel like we're giving up. I hope that people who have immunocompromised parents at home, like I do, and my niece lives with my parents and goes home to them. And so she's going to keep wearing a mask to protect my mother, essentially, so she doesn't go home and make her sick. Because if she did that, the anxiety she has now would be a million times fold. She'd never forgive herself. And, we try not to tell her that. And I see the emotions on both sides. You got people who take it really seriously, and they make their children anxious by, being afraid. There are people who are afraid. And then there's the other side where they get very angry about mask wearing. And I've tried not to make this an emotional issue for myself. We have some tools. Some work better than others. I think if we use them with some common sense, we can really do some good and try to end this. So I really hope that students who feel strongly about wearing them continue to wear them, because there is research that shows that masks do help. They're not 100% effective, but you won't read a study that says they're 0% effective. And as I said, they're just one tool of many that we have now, and we keep adding to that arsenal. And eventually tools are going to be added to that arsenal that allow us not to bother with masks, and eventually there'll be some treatments like there are for flu, antivirals and whatnot. We have the monoclonal antibodies and other things now for this, but treatments get better. When we started with masks, that's all we had. Now we have a vaccine. So it evolves. And our protection, our ability to protect ourselves evolves. And if we take advantage of those protections, if we take advantage of rapid tests like I do now, if I go to visit my mother, I take a rapid test to make sure I'm not bringing COVID over the house. We have these at our disposal now, and if we use them correctly, just like if we've been using masks correctly the whole time, we can really put a stop to this. And so, because we have these other tools available to us now, I would be in favor of ending the mask mandate on the 28th.
Mr. Stevens, you wanted to say something
Yes,
further?
I'd like to thank those people who emailed me that were on both sides of the mask. And something I need to talk to Mr. Jokler about. There are young children in our schools who are compromised. I heard from one mother, first grader, leukemia. She's very concerned about dropping the mask mandate. So we're going to have to be able to do some things to help some of those fragile children that we have in our system to get through this.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Reynolds.
Because you're all here, and we have never seen such a crowd, and I'm encouraging you to keep it up, keep your eye on us. But when we all came, we had this paper. Somebody put it down at our place here, and it says a petition to rescind municipal mask mandate. And Jacqueline Waitja, okay. Well, so I read it, and I went to the back here, and at the very bottom line it says, Massachusetts public health officials ease mask guidance. And then I looked at some other things on the page, and one thing it says, now let me just start this off by saying, this is there are some people who don't care what we think. They care about power, they care about money. And I think our best bet on caring is the parents of children. I think this is the closest natural bond that where we get feedback. So you can see how we can be divided amongst us, not like one another, not care about one another, depending on where we stand. Like this young man when he just spoke about tools in the chest. There were other tools in the chest that the medical community did not allow us to have. The state did not allow us to have. Simple things, hydrochloroquine, they were all demonized, and they were effective and cost-effective. And millions of people have made millions of dollars on our backs, on our illness. Okay. There's going to be more to come, and it's the critical race theory, and I'm showing you right here on the paper handed out tonight. It says, it shows a picture, and it says, funny how the little white girl with skates got treated differently. This is tonight.
This is not about the.
Yes, but it is.
The agenda item.
Yes, it is.
We gave the stats on African American poverty and disparity. We want to hear it.
Let her speak. Let her speak. Let her speak. Yes, it's from down here. It says, Matt, public health officials. This is anyway. What I want you to know is there will be no let up on attempts to divide us into camps. And so I say, let's go back to the elemental. I'm with you all, parents with the children, and be with us. And let's try to be decent to one another, and follow our hearts, and not be dragged around.
Yes.
I'm going to motion.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to motion that we end the mask mandate for the schools on March 14th.
Second.
Is people into talking? Is it time for a motion?
We are
Made a motion.
Time for motion.
We can debate on that
Was
motion.
motion seconded?
I second.
See how you get
Seconded?
talking.
Motion, state your motion once again, please.
My motion is to end the school mandate, mask mandate, on March 14th or 13th, whatever.
Now,
I think it's the 14th.
is that a Board of Health vote?
It's 2 weeks to be on the 28th.
That's a Board of Health vote.
That's a Board of Health vote.
Okay.
Motion.
Are we voting separately, is that it?
What's that, Doctor?
It'll be absent until this is rescinded, that's right.
Well, their decision
All right.
affects your decision.
Motion is made for the board to vote on ending the mandate on March 14th?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you have the vote. All in favor?
Do they have a second?
They had a second. Well, wait a minute.
I second.
No, that's
You seconded. You have to second. Somebody has to second.
I'll second it then.
John seconds.
All right.
I'm in favor.
All right. And who else?
Are you in favor of my
Yeah, I think
motion? You
Dr.
are. Okay,
Vaccination
so
in
we
favor
have,
as well.
I think you're not, though, right?
I am not.
He's opposed.
2 to 1.
Motion
Ian
passes.
is not in favor.
Motion passes. Mass mandates is until March 14th.
You can motion to reconsider, can you not, under parliamentary procedure, and change your vote? 3 people get to decide out of all of you.
Just so you know, let me just clarify something here. Initially,
How did you second if you're not?
I didn't second it. Dr. Bogdasarian seconded it. I said, but then I didn't realize
he was
it was the
mistaken.
Board of Health. It was a board. No. Let me.
Yes.
Can I speak, please?
You want to clarify now after you were just misinterpreting?
No.
Hold on, everybody. Let him
We
speak.
took the motion a second time, and they seconded it. the board.
This is a school committee.
No, it's a combined meeting.
Okay.
We're following,
Everyone in favor of protest, kids being absent. How will they have the money? My kids will certainly be not going to school. And I plan on going to the school and convincing every other parent to side with me. They will also not take this.
Listen, everybody, this hasn't been adequately explained to us. Let the mayor explain it to us.
do we want to consider having a joint vote? Entire committee.
That's how you change the rules of government. You can't just improvise.
Mr. Mayor, may I say something?
Yes, Mr. Walsh.
So, excuse me? Excuse me?
Please, please.
Could I say something for just 1 second?
Let me just...
Mr. Walsh has the floor. Go ahead.
Just so you know, the mask mandate for schools was a mandate from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. That was statewide. That's what the governor and DESE were lifting effective February 28th. That was never a mandate that was passed by the school committee here in Fitchburg. That's right. The other thing that's clear you need to understand is wearing masks in municipal buildings, not limited to City Hall, but including schools and all city-owned buildings, was an order passed by the Board of Health. That was not passed by the school committee. So there's nothing that we passed that required and mandated students to wear masks. It was done by the state and the Board of Health for all municipal buildings, including schools. And I'm all in favor of having a joint vote by the Board of Health and the school committee on the motion.
Mr. Solicitor, would you approach the bench, please? All right, I've been advised that, and rightly so, that this is considered a joint meeting. So we need an entire vote of the entire, with the school committee and the Board of Health. So we're going to revisit the motion. Motion was made and seconded to retain the mask mandate until March 14th. Now we're taking the vote of the entire body. All in favor, show of hands, please.
All in favor of
Yes, all in favor of March 14th.
Or 14th.
All right, mask mandate stays in effect until March 14th. All in favor? That's what, 4? All right? 4? All opposed? 1, 2.
No, when you say opposed, you mean in favor
Does
of...
not pass.
Opposed, it will end the 28th.
Ending on the 28th. Is what, when you say opposed, ending on the 28th.
Well, they're opposed on the 14th.
Right.
Now we'll have a separate motion for the 28th.
All right.
I will make a motion that we remove the mask mandate on the 28th.
Thank you. Motion made, and do I hear a second?
I second.
You should do a roll call.
All right, we're going to make this a roll call vote. We had a second from Mr. Horgan. Roll call vote. Mr. Murray.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not clear what just happened.
What are you not clear about?
Would you, oh,
I made a motion.
Yeah.
no, but I mean,
The 14th did
The
not
health-
pass.
the
Did
health,
not pass.
Right.
So now we're going to vote on the
wait a minute,
28th.
now, you voted on the 14th, like immediately to have it in?
They voted as the Board of Health.
For March 14th.
March 14th, but this is a joint
It
meeting.
did not pass.
That's, well, because it's a joint, we took a joint vote, not just the body, not just the Board of
What
Health.
was the count? What was this?
5-4.
5-4.
5 was,
5-4 that not to accept the 14th of March.
okay.
All right.
Thank
Okay?
you very much for clarification.
Again, do we have a motion to accept the Department of Public Health's recommendation and DESE for, February 28th?
I made the motion.
All right, motion made and seconded by Mr. Horgan. All in favor? We should take a roll call. Mr. Murray?
I'm in favor.
It's a yay?
Nay.
Nay?
Nay for me.
Nay? Okay. I'm a yes, a yay, yes?
Yes.
Yes?
No.
No? This is for the 28th.
For the 28th.
Of
And we still have
February.
a chance for drop it immediately. We can do that.
No, that's not on the table.
28th.
28th.
But can't we say that, can we have home rule?
I know you want to do it immediately, and I'm not, that's not
We
what this is.
don't have a chance to do that? No home
No.
rule?
No. So, Ms. Reynolds, how do you vote?
Yay. I mean, it's
Yay.
better than-
All right, that's 4.
Yay.
Doctor, yay. All right. The Horgan is a yay. 6-3, the motion passes. February 28th, the mask mandate.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Am I able to ask a question at this point?
You have a question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
What can we do to address the concern of the young lady with the pink mask with those students that are affected, that have other types of sicknesses at the school? What can be done to be able to address those students so that they can be safe also?
Well, we will urge her to certainly approach the superintendent and me if you'd like, and the Board of Health. I think you know someone on the board. And we can see if we can be helpful and maybe meet what you're asking. Yes?
No, I was just wondering, you did mention earlier, Mr. Jokola, that the school had bought HIPAA filters.
Yes.
Spring is coming, I'm sure you're going to be opening the windows. My only concern is for those little children, and I agree, the masks have to come off. The facial expressions that these children are seeing, the ability to read other people's faces, it's so crucial as human beings to have that. So I'm very happy with the masks coming up. But I'm very concerned about the children who have serious illness themselves or go home to somebody that has serious illness. Are they going to be tormented because they're keeping the mask on? Are they going to be feeling safe? Maybe they might take it off, if they can sit here in the window. I don't know.
So the rescinding of the mask mandate, masks will still be optional.
It'll be an advisory, right. If you want to wear the mask, you can wear the mask.
mask.
If you don't, don't. Don't wish to. Right.
And I think to address the issue, all our schools have a culture of respect for each other. So we hope that no one is blaming or sharing for wearing a mask or not wearing a mask. And to respect everybody's individual decision, because that was something that was stated very clearly tonight. So I hope that happens on February 28th and for the remainder of the school year.
All right.
Make a motion
Thank
for
you.
adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
Going to call the meeting of the Fitchburg Board of Health to order.
So, well, maybe we go straight to the petition. That will we'll deal with the order. So we'll go straight to the petitions.
Do you have anything more to state?
I've already spoke at the previous meeting. I'm glad that you're rescinding the mandate on the schools effective February 28th, and you have to wait until then due to DESE. However, you don't have those restrictions with the other municipal buildings, and I would therefore ask that you rescind the mask mandate in the other buildings effective immediately.
I can make a motion. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, I will make a motion that we end the mask mandate for the municipal buildings, the Housing Authority in Fitchburg State, and the library, which includes the library, and make it an advisory. people can choose when they want to put a mask on and when not. I will be wearing a mask in the City Hall when I come in here, but the motion is to make it advisory immediately.
As immediately, did you say? Or as
Why not? I mean, based on all the data and the statistics that I've seen, I have been ready to kind of been watching them very closely, and I was kind of on the verge on the last meeting, but especially now, hopefully things will stay the way they are and keep dropping. And that's what I'm basing my feelings and my decision on.
Second that motion.
Did you seconded it? Yes. Yeah, I'm in agreement, so I think it
You
passes.
sure you didn't want to say something?
So it is unanimous.
No, I think that with cases diminishing, I think where the spikes of concern were are in schools immediately after school vacations. The municipal buildings aren't affected by that. So I think that it's reasonable to rescind the mask mandate immediately and make it a mask advisory. I think for those who are immunocompromised or unvaccinated, we would advise that they continue to wear masks, or for individuals who have ill people or at-risk people at home that they wear masks. But I think that we can rescind the mandate now.
And that was unanimous, correct?
Yes.
All three? Okay. Does that complete the petition portion, agenda item? Yes. Nothing else to be said. Okay. What about the other items on the agenda? The next item was meeting minutes, and if you want to table that to a future meeting, that's acceptable. I don't know if...
I did read them, but I didn't know if anyone else had a chance to.
I didn't have a chance to read them.
Okay, we should probably table.
I'll make a motion to table the minutes from February 3rd, 2022.
Second.
I'm in favor
All in
of
favor.
that.
Unanimous there. Number 7 is the annual chair appointment.
I make a motion that we appoint Dr. Bagdasarian as chair for the next year, or however long he wants.
I second that.
If I survive,
Maybe not the appropriate evening for the...
I was going to say, can we table that? All right, well, I'm recusing myself, of course, from that, so leave it up to the others.
I'm in favor.
Sandy, you sure you don't want to do that?
No, I do not want it.
Is that a second?
You're the most appropriate person.
That was the second?
For long enough.
I second it, yeah, we're in favor.
Well, thank you for your, I don't know if I should say faith or, well, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Ms. Wetchy had a comment, or asking to speak.
Yeah, as you know, I had filed an open meeting complaint, and I feel that Dr. Bagdasarian did not follow the proper procedure. He received it 2 separate ways. I submitted it both by email and by mail to both him and the city clerk. He had a certain period of time in which he was required to disseminate the complaint to the members of the committee to have a discussion with them, and only after such a discussion would he allowed to delegate the response to another individual, such as Mr. Curry. And he didn't follow the proper procedure, and if you're not going to follow the proper procedures that the Attorney General's office has lined out, you shouldn't be a chairman, someone else should be.
Which brings us to the next item. As we all know, Ms. Wetchy has filed an open meeting law complaint. This should have been, it's my fault, actually. I take the blame. This should have been on the February 3rd meeting. I didn't realize that it was only 14 days. I was thinking it was 30 days to respond to the open meeting law complaint. After the 14-day extension, I did ask the Attorney General's office for the extension, but because it was beyond the 14 days, they were unable to grant it. So I have prepared a response, and I believe I've shared the response with the board members. The mistake was made. Now we can fix it and deliberate if necessary. Can also delegate my response as the official response of the Board of Health. And I believe my response is in there if it needs to be reviewed again.
Yeah, and I think you had submitted that to us a few days ago, if I remember, yeah.
It's actually on page 26. So if it's helpful, so we don't have to read the whole thing, I'll try and summarize it. Basically, Ms. Wetchy is petitioning the Attorney General's office that Dr. Monica Gandhi was not allowed to speak at a meeting on January 13th, 2022. In fact, my response with evidence received from FATV. At that meeting, Dr. Bagdasarian was unable to view who was on the FATV sign-on, but also that the meeting really was adjourned at 5:43, and Dr. Gandhi did not sign in till 5:50. So it was my feeling that we didn't know Dr. Gandhi. The meeting had ended. We certainly don't have any objection to Dr. Gandhi speaking that I know of, but that's just the way it works. He signed on after the meeting was adjourned. So I prepared a response based on that, and I also provided a registration list that was provided by FATV. I also got an email from FATV. The Board of Health minutes actually show that the meeting went 50 minutes, which is still before or ended before Dr. Gandhi signed on at 5:53, I believe. There is also an email from Dr. Gandhi to myself and Ms. Wetchy, which occurred after the meeting ended. So that's basically the official response, that it wasn't that we didn't allow her to speak, it's the meeting was over. And
I think I remember asking Ms. Wetchy if Dr. Gandhi was going to be available to speak, and I think she answered that she wasn't sure she was going to be able to appear at the meeting because I think she was seeing patients. So that was, we certainly made the offer for her to speak, and at least I had no notification that she was trying to get into the meeting at any time while we were here. So I don't think that we violated any open meeting law, and we made every opportunity to let her speak. I think tonight was an example of allowing people to speak. That's what we're very happy to do. We certainly let Ms. Wetchy come here frequently and speak. And so there was no effort whatsoever to deny Dr. Gandhi the ability to speak.
I agree. I agree with that.
Do we make a motion to accept your response, or?
yeah, you as a board should vote to delegate the responsibility to the response to me, and that the response is acceptable. If it is. If it's not, then we need to amend it according to the board's desires.
The only thing I might add, and it's been a while since I read it, was that I think I recollect distinctly asking Ms. Wetchy if Dr. Gandhi was going to be available to speak, and Ms. Wetchy said that she wasn't certain that she was going to be available. So I think that also put us off looking at when she would appear, because we weren't sure that she was even going to be able to. We didn't hear anything from her during the 50 minutes that we were meeting that she was here, and as you pointed out, it wasn't until after we adjourned that she tried to get into the meeting. So I don't think in any way we denied her. We asked if she was available. We were told it wasn't certain that she would be, and when she was available, we weren't here anymore.
We also asked FATV if there was anyone waiting at that time when that came up, and they said no.
Right.
So in my response on the second page in the second paragraph states, at approximately 5:30 p.m., the Board of Health got to Ms. Wetchy's requested agenda item, which was a petition to rescind or amend the mask mandate that the board enacted in August 21. Ms. Wetchy had several minutes to make her presentation, and comments were made by both board members and the petitioner. According to the FATV video, at approximately 5:32, Ms. Wetchy asked the board if Dr. Gandhi was present. The chairman, Dr. Bagdasarian, who was unable to see who was registered, then asked the FATV representative named Dan if Dr. Gandhi was present virtually. At this time, Dan responded that Dr. Gandhi was not present or registered at that time. At approximately 5:40 p.m., the board voted unanimously to uphold the mask mandate and then motioned to adjourn the meeting at approximately 5:43.
Okay, that addresses it, I think. I make a motion to accept and designate your response as our board response.
I second.
And I am in favor.
Is that an acceptable response to you?
I feel that your response, Mr. Curry, was correct, or rather, I should say that your response to the complaint was acceptable, but I feel the proper procedure was not followed, and if Dr. Bagdasarian is not capable of following proper procedures, he shouldn't be the chairman, someone else should be the chair.
What would you say the proper procedure would be?
The proper procedure was when he received the complaint, he was required to disseminate the complaint to the members of the board and to convene the board and early enough so that a response could be given to the complaint within 14 business days, and he didn't do any of those things. He just ignored it, and finally, when someone complained to Mr. Curry about it from the AG's office, then some action was taken on it. So Dr. Bagdasarian was derelict in his duties.
And you got this information from Robert's Rules, or?
I got it from the Attorney General's website on open meeting complaints.
Well, as usual, thank you for your comments.
So, can we move on? Or is that, do you have anything more to add on that? Have we made an attempt to clarify the issue and to make your complaint better, or a solution to it? I can tell you that now we do have a little bit of a system where we can see through FATV. We do have a system where we can find out who's on virtually. So I just want to make mention of that because we recognize the problem that you present.
Okay. I'm ready to move on to the next agenda item if you are.
Okay. So the next agenda item is a complaint by Ms. Wetchy regarding the board's alleged discrimination to her requests her several requests, I believe she made in 2 meetings, or she claims or alleges that she asked the board for an exemption to the mask mandate, and the board denied her request for exemption. On this matter, I was in the time frame of the service complaint. I did request an extension. We were granted an extension by the Commission Against Discrimination until March 1st. I propose to the board that I can, if you delegate the responsibility once again to me, I shall prepare a response to this complaint with the assistance from the legal department in the city. And of course, Dr. Bagdasarian himself has prepared a response to it, so we can include that response if that's acceptable to the board.
Are we going to see are we going to be able to see it, or the response, or do we need to, or?
So the response is not written.
Okay, all right. I misunderstood you.
Yeah, no, Dr. Bagdasarian has prepared a response.
Okay, but
to
it's not present tonight. We aren't going to see it tonight.
It is not present tonight,
okay.
no. But if...
No, that's fine.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to delegate the response to you.
I thought you'd appreciate that.
And you certainly can include my portion of the response as well.
I'll second that motion.
I'm in favor.
I think that addresses your complaint regarding, the service complaint regarding the rules of the Commission Against Discrimination.
The MCAD told me that, you know, there's a process. They'll get a response from you, and then they'll send your response to me, and then I don't know if I can then respond again, and there's also an option to go to mediation, so there's a whole process, and they will keep me notified of the process as it unfolds.
The point here is that we're trying to make good with all this. That's just...
Well, my concern is that next winter we get another COVID surge, and I have this exact same problem. That's why I'm not willing to cancel my complaint, and I want to keep it going forward.
I'm not asking you to...
And I'm sure there are other people in the same situation as me. I feel that you've been very cruel and heartless to me.
And you think spending 6 months with you was fruitful?
You know, Ms. Wetchey, we're volunteers. We're doing the best we can here. We don't take a course on how to be a Board of Health member or how to be a chairman of the board. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
All your complaints and everything. What's it going to take to make you happy?
I'd like to ask also, what do these recent meetings over the past several months have to do with the review you wrote of me having operated on a member of your family some years ago?
It just shows a basic callousness of you that you exhibit. You exhibited then and you exhibit now. And I'm not the only one who's done negative online reviews of you. Your reviews by other people are not good as well.
I was callous in taking care of a member of your family years ago?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
I mean, that's life. I mean, not everybody likes everybody, so, you know, it's what happens.
No, it had to do, she says I wouldn't allow her
I know, the recovery room.
Yeah.
He's not in charge of the recovery room. He's up against the nurses. They're not going to, I mean, if they don't want somebody, a family member in the recovery room, you're not getting in there.
That's right.
It has nothing to do with him. He does the surgery.
Don't worry about it. It's not worth it.
Well, anyway, it's you have really violated, crossed a line with a lot of us complaining about to our medical boards, and so to be honest with you, it's sad and it's quite insulting. I'm sorry, I've been holding that in for a long time.
Your first duty as medical professionals is do no harm. I told you I had trouble breathing. I was worried I was going to pass out. You didn't care. You didn't care.
Okay, you don't know how I feel.
I asked, will you please have some compassion on me? And you, Ms. Knipe, said, this is not a matter of compassion, it's a matter of safety.
That's enough, Ms. Wetchey.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Is the next meeting March 3rd?
Yes.
Do we need to have one? Didn't we? What do we have? Just the minutes?
So far, yes.
That's the first
And then the
Thursday.
response, but
Response to
the discrimination complaint.
Yeah, I think we should probably,
have it.
is that all right with you?
You're the boss, yeah. You can do it. Yeah, let's have it March 3rd. Maybe you won't
Okay,
last long.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Say that, but I'll
That's my
certainly
favorite thing to
entertain
say.
Meeting is adjourned.